Alright guys, welcome back and let's continue with the next part. Yesterday guys, I introduced you the main topic that we are going to deal today, that is called REST API. Very high level I've given the idea what the REST API is, but from today onward guys, we will purely deal with a topic called REST API, and we are going to build using the Flask framework. Okay, and obviously with the language called Python. Okay, so directly guys jump back to our main topic, that obviously the REST API. Okay, so what is the idea? Okay, so first let me explain you the use case, because if you want to create a website, okay, but if this website has obviously what I mean by website here, normally if you have multiple web pages, okay, and those web pages if you put in one particular computers, that is we have to configure as a server as called web server, and this server has the IP address, and some client, if they know our IP address, they come to this IP address and they come to this site where they have the web pages. Then this site is called a website. So it is actually the game of web pages. So if you want to provide some information to the client, then typically those pages and website is normally known as website. But if this pages is written in some language, maybe in PHP, in Python, in Java, and this page is doing something for the client, okay, and provide some application for the client. Maybe something like this very simple application. Maybe I can provide two boxes by this page, and these boxes my client type 4 and 2, and we submit. This information come to web page written in some language, and this page do some processing on it, and they do reply to you. Typically, let's say the reply will be plus, and then give the answer 6. So technically, for the client perspective, this web page is doing something for the client, and they utilizing this application, okay, and using this pages or this code, and they're taking the resources of the server, maybe RAM, CPU, and other things, and they do all the processing on the server. So I can say this page is now not known as page. This is the web app for us. Now it is your choice. You want to do plus minus, you want to do post, you want to do searching, like we have Google search. So it all depends upon your requirement. What application you want to as a client you want to use, obviously, but what is the application you as a server guys or application developer guys has to provide to the client. So till date everything is working good. Right? There's no as such challenge okay, in creating the website or maybe in the web app. Okay, because here we use a web framework. In our case we use Flask, or maybe you can use Django or lots of the other framework available, or other language they have the other personal framework. Okay, but you can use any framework. They will help you to create a web app, and what facility you want to provide to your client, you can provide to the client. So till date maybe some small app we had created with some functionality, okay, and they're working very fine. And how they're working, client will go to this web app in their particular URL that is called endpoint or the route, and they connect to this web app. They have some functionality, a function running, and they do something for you. And they will go via HTTP. So technically everything is working great. And there is no challenge till date. Okay, and maybe you guys know from my last couple of classes, I told you here we're using Flask as a framework. And why it is not a framework? Because they do lots of things for you behind the scene. So if you remember guys, in my initial classes where I talk about how to create your own web app using a CGI, and where you have to create everything by yourself. Even though if you remember that point in time, I created my Python CGI program, and I created our own HTTP header, content type and something like this. Okay, so you can create your own web app or web pages with typical core Intel concept called CGI, like common gateway interface. But the good thing about this Flask kind of framework is a lot of things they abstracted, they hide, and what a common functionality normally we need, they provide you out of the box. So we have to focus more on our functionality, what app or what application we would like to provide to the client. Okay, but in both the cases, if you go for the older way where we create everything from the scratch, or we use some kind of web framework like Flask, okay, finally they are doing their duty very well. They create a very much fantastic web app, website, so client interact and they do whatever they want to perform. And obviously via HTTPS protocol, they go and connect. Okay, so if everything working good, okay, so why we need a different way to manage the thing that's called REST? Because you guys know, I told you already, if client come to some of the route or some of the URL or some of the path or some of the context, okay, they actually hit to one function. And this function will do something for you. Okay, and because this function will do something for you, maybe let's say plus and minus, for example. So this function is create one application for you, and by this language we created an API. So technically, till date, if you use CGI or Flask, we already has the API. So if anybody come to this route, technically they come to our API. And because they come to our API, or whatever API will do, let's say they want to plus and minus, run the date command, or do some chatting and posting, or searching, or maybe machine learning model creation, or predict something, whatever you guys know in your respective domain. Okay, we can do everything according to our current knowledge. So technically we had already created our own API. This is called application program interface, and everything working good and fine. Okay, now point guys here is, if everything working good and fine, so why we need a different kind of API? That's called REST API. Okay, that is the main thing to understand today. So in a simple term, REST is one concept. Okay, here this guy help you in managing the thing about the API. Okay, what I mean by this, so let me a little bit elaborate this topic, then you can come to know what is the meaning of API. After you become comfortable with the API, then I explain you how to create the API. Technically I'm talking about here how to create the REST API. Okay, that would be the topic for today. So what's the idea? So what exactly we have to do today? So idea is pretty simple. For example, if this is the use case, let's say you have one beautiful web app, and let's say this is the social media app. Again, take the example of Facebook. Okay, initially they had a plan to create a very basic website or web app where they want to give a some very single facility. Okay, and facility would be something like this, that they want to provide some box where anybody come, type their details and post. This is called posting, right? So we have some information to post, and we share to publicly. Okay, that's one functionality the Facebook come up. Okay, so let me keep on writing here. So one of the functionality of Facebook, initially they might have started with okay, as a posting or social posting. After website become famous, they see some more feedback from the client, so they think, let's do one more thing. My client also want to have a chat. So create one more app or route, okay, or one more functionality where we provide a capability of chatting. By chance they provide you this chat facility in bottom over here, but behind this there's a different app, different function, different server running behind the scene, and what are the URL they have, they put over here. Obviously they might using some kind of web browser programming. This is called JavaScript, and JavaScript is the one who will try to give you a illusion that it is a part of this website, but technically this particular functionality of chat is running by different language, maybe by different program, maybe the different server. But yeah, they have one more functionality they added. But after this, they think, let's add one more function now with a bigger customer base. Let's add one more functionality here. Let's add some search functionality in the top. So they might hire some other team member, and their team members say that we are good in, let's say in Scala as a language. So we are good in searching algorithms, planning, but we know only the language called Scala. So I can add one more functionality here. Okay, that was searching, but my team is independent team. who will add this function of searching, and they will add everything in a code called Scala. It's one of the language. Okay, and obviously this is a different code, different program. So they put this server maybe in the different server or different IPs and group of computers all together. And these guys say we are good in, let's say, in Java, so we would put the chat application in Java. Facebook say I put a posting site in PHP, so they write this guy in PHP. So different teams we have, and Facebook keep on hiring different teams, different functionality and planning, they keep on coming, and every team are good in their respective language, or maybe some functionality is good for for particular languages. Let's say maybe chatting app might be give you better result if you write in Java, just for example. Okay, so now point guys here is what I'm trying to explain you here is by chance these are different facility running in very different server altogether, managed by very different team altogether. Okay, this is managed by different team altogether. Okay, but if you want to provide a facility to our client, so one of the things guys Facebook come up with, they say let's do one thing. If I create different server, every server has their own IP address, every server has their own domain name, everybody has their own URL. So it's not good for the user experience for the client perspective, and say do one thing. If you want to use Facebook chat, go to this domain. If you want to use posting, just go to this IP. So obviously it doesn't look good as a user perspective or as a client perspective of the Facebook. So as Facebook come up with it, they say let's create one single page. Web page, and they create this web page look something like this, and normally they whatever they want to put in this page they write in HTML as a language. Okay, plus but technically what they want to do here, right, all the functionality they want to draw on the top of this page, searching, chatting, posting, everything they would like to draw over here. Okay, and they use some language behind the scene, because HTML is just a language, if you guys know it just helps to create this structure of this page and putting the images in the video, that's all, or the content. Okay, but they because they want to connect all those functions, all those servers, all the different functionality together. So here they use one of the languages that your browser by chance support, that's called JavaScript. So it's very typical language. We have some more language, but Java script is a language. It's not Java, it's a JavaScript is a language that normally browser is very much comfortable on. Okay, and what the JavaScript do? Okay, so whenever you click on on searching, okay, if you type searching here and type something here, so behind the scene you actually invoking or asking the JavaScript to get your data. Let's say you search for example, let's say search for my name Vimal. So they get this data. Who get this data, right? You type, but on your behalf this data is retrieved by JavaScript. And on your behalf, okay, JavaScript will take this data and contact to this functionality or I can say this particular route. Okay, but this functionality of this route may be running very different server, very different IP, very different URL, maybe by different team managed or different language they might be using here. Okay, and now this language they'll retrieve this information. They retrieve this information. Let's say they retrieve the data called Vimal, and based upon the data they search in their server by using some searching algorithms. After search they have the result, and they will reply back the result to the JavaScript. Okay, something like this. So technically why I'm doing it this way, okay, because now what I'm trying to realize you, right, that if you are interacting with the Facebook application and you think you are searching and you are connecting to the search program of the Facebook, but technically you are not. You are just interacting with the front page, or also guys are known as front end of the Facebook, purely on HTML or maybe JavaScript. Okay, but you are just providing your requirement that I want to do I want to use this functionality of the Facebook, but on your behalf some other languages, here in this case JavaScript as a language, or maybe there might be other languages, but some other language who will they will do a further thing. They will retrieve, and they are the one who send this request to the internal URL or the endpoint or the root, depend whatever language they are using there. That's not so much important here. So technically what I'm trying to realize here is, okay, for this functionality, for this route or for this server, okay, who is the client? JavaScript is a client, or this language is a client. You are not the client, and for the JavaScript you are the client. So technically as a client or the customer in technically you are only interacting with the front end here, HTML, or maybe you can think as a JavaScript. Okay, but all the internal functionality, or I can say all the backend, so these functionality guys are running in some server in some language, so I can say these are the backend. So backend guys is always get a request from your front end language. You are not actually one who directly connect to this backend. Okay, so what I want to conclude here. First thing I also want to tell you that this is the way it is been designed. Okay, but what I'm trying to want to tell you one more thing. Right, the most important thing here is depend upon the functionality what Facebook want to provide. Here in the functionality, Facebook want to provide in a search that you can only type your data. They go to search functionality in this URL. They will retrieve the data and provide to you. Okay, so technically in this functionality, they only have a capability of retrieving the data or information. Technically in the terms it's called get. Means you can only read the information. Obviously guys, Facebook never provide the information here. Search, they say just search Vimal and all the information that you retrieve, delete it. They don't provide this. Okay, only you can do is read. You can update also. So by chance in this URL, whatever language they use, okay, they provide only the read capability or get capability. But if you talk about post, so again guys, if you post something here, okay, so technically we think we are posting, obviously we are posting, and we think we are the one who actually directly connecting to the post functionality of the Facebook or the backend. Actually we are not. Again, okay, what do we post here? Again, JavaScript is the one behind the scene as a language. Sorry, it's a language who retrieve this information and submit. They collect all this information, and JavaScript behind the scene go and connect to the function of the post or this backend or this URL and post for you. Let's say maybe they are using PHP as a language. Okay, but in this case, this functionality, this functionality is running in one single endpoint. Let's say endpoint/post. Or let me give them a different name. I'm so sorry. So let me again explain you. so so whoever who create this particular URL, okay, and this URL is running in some of the server, in some of the IP addresses managed by different team altogether, okay, and they have to decide what functionality they have to provide. Or let's say they have to provide a functionality called post, for example, or Facebook post, okay, then what types or what capability you have there. Create, read, and delete and update. Okay, and obviously guys, it's so logical. If they give a capability read, so how to read the thing is a very different operation. How to update the thing is a very different operation. For example, if I tell you we have we have the file, and if I want you to read the file, so guys, we have open function in the Python, so different function we use. But if I ask you to delete the file, so maybe you can use ls command rm to delete the file. Okay, so technically what I want anybody come to my this URL. Okay, and for my client, this URL is the one URL that my company or my Facebook is providing you some facility, some resources. So it is also known as resources. So anybody who want to use this resources, okay, what capabilities we have to provide. And for every capabilities we have to write different functions. So function 1 for create, function 2 for read, function 3 for delete, and function 4 for update. So now interesting thing is, if you remember guys, in our Flask code, you guys know whenever we create a route, one route we can only attach to one function. Right? So if you remember, when we create a route with the app route function, and we can only attach with one function. But same route, if you try to attach with other function, right, in the Flask, they give you the error. They say if you want to same route you want to attach to other function, it won't allow you. Only one function or one route can be attached to only one function. But in this use case, I have one single route for my client. Here the client is JavaScript maybe. Okay, but we have to create attached with multiple functions. Okay, so here the role guys of concept come up. So I'll tell my Flask here or any of the language here and say this is the URL, but this URL is not only the URL, this is the resource. And this resource has a multiple capability, and for every capability we need different functions to create. So I want to attach all the function with the same route. But how can we differentiate? Right, because technically Flask perspective they never allow, and not Flask. If you go for other language, they will never allow. Obviously they won't allow you, but what obvious thing is, if some client come to this URL, how they come to know which function to run. So it is but obvious logically they not allow. But how we tackle this concept or how we'll manage this concept. So for this, let me do one thing. Let me start writing my code. By writing the code, I will help you how we tackle this. Okay. So for this, what I'm doing here right now, let me open my same workspace we had created yesterday. So in our desktop, we have created IC Python format. So my web, I believe. So this is the workspace we created yesterday. Okay, so it is something like this. What I wanted actually. Okay, or let me write again. So what I wanted here, I want to create a route. Okay, the name is post. Okay, and here I want to add with a function convert. Or let's say this guy is written, and they say I am a function who will help you to create a post. Okay, and if you want to create one more route, but here I don't want to change my route because they are the same functionality, same main feature. Main feature is posting. And I want everybody to go to same server because the different team, it's the same team okay, same thing, who is managing the entire post part in one server in one particular URL. So I want they also go to same URL, okay, but here the functionality will be different. But this functionality will do one thing, okay, they help us to to delete the post. I'm printing this message just to show you, but this post, all the delete functionality, maybe my data is there in the database, we go and remove from a database. Here we can go to database and create some data in the database. So depending guys, or maybe in the file where you want to keep your things. Okay, but technically it is so logical. It's so logical that guys, can you hold for a second please? Sorry guys. So it's so logical. If anybody come to this endpoint, how they come to know they want to attach to, want to run F1 or F2, and obviously it's so confusing. Even though if you guys try to run this program, it will fail. Let me show you very quickly. Let me comment all of my further lines. So with the triple quotes, we can comment my further lines over here. Okay, and obviously if I run this code, this will fail or might not work properly the way we want it. So let me use base format. Okay, so if I try to run this code, okay, so it is running, but the confusion over here is if I try to connect to this one, either they run this function or they run this function, but obviously they won't run both. And how can I check? Let me open one more terminal here. So guys, in the in your Visual Studio Code, there's option here plus. It will help you to add one more terminal. Okay, and again it would be anywhere, doesn't matter. Here what I'm doing, I'm using curl command that you know, and I am heading to this IP address and this port number and heading to S post. Okay, and what do you see guys? This option come up, means technically they hit only to function one. So if I hit again first one, it means either they might give you error or or they only try to hit to first one. But maybe my customer has a requirement to delete also. So how we can differentiate? I want to come in this URL only because this is the URL has a one single functionality of posting, but different capabilities of creating and deleting. So how we differentiate and tell the customer that so technically how I differentiate what customer want. So here the role of these keywords come in play, or these actions come in play. It is known as verb. Okay, so because we send everything via HTTP, so HTTP is a protocol, and now they say now we support multiple verb. So when a customer come to any URL via HTTP, so in our header they will also tell me one more thing, what verb they want to do or what action they want to do in this URL, or based upon the action I will decide which functionality or which function to call. For example, if my customer say I want to create, so the verb is create, so this create verb I will attach to this function. Okay, they want to say delete, so this delete verb I will attach to different function. So URL will be same, but based upon the capabilities or the action or the verb, I will differentiate the function. So it's something like this. Here the role of verb come up. Okay, and here the keyword methods, again same keyword we are going to use. And the method we can tell our verb. So if you want to read, the name of the verb is get. So read is just a concept, but here in the HTTP the name that we use instead of the read is get. So here we can tell my method would be get or my verb would be get. But anybody want to delete, again same URL will come, but here the method would be or the verb would be delete. Okay, or let me create two more. Copy, paste and paste. Again, they will come here, but if the requirement is to update the post, okay, so again URL is same, because the same URL is hitting to my server where my team working only on posting or only on chatting and only on searching. Okay, but how they come to know why customer come here for update, why I run the update functionality here, the functionality called free. Okay, only we'll check one more thing in the customer header when they come and we see the verb called update, and here guys for update we have a method called put. Okay, so here we'll see if they come up with the header called put, then we will run function 3. And same if they want to do something like what's left, read or read not delete and create. So if they come guys, this is for read actually, get for read. And if they come for create, then we will see the method or the verb called post. So technically guys, this is like a read operation, delete, update and create. So again, it is like a code. So here guys, okay, one resource, okay, multiple functionality we are doing or multiple action we are doing, multiple verb we are doing here. Okay, we are doing here. So if you want to manage this kind of concept, okay, technically again guys, understand one thing. Okay, this is what this is URL, and technically I told you this URL has some functionality, then you can think it is API. But guys, in this API we also trying to update and trying to tell what actually we want to do. Okay, and accordingly they attach to functions. Technically we are transferring our extra information here, and this is a way we are going to represent our API. Okay, so to manage this kind of way of representing our API, and guys, this is called REST API. Guys, REST API means RE is representational, S is state, and T is transfer. Okay, guys, this is not the actually full meaning of REST API. As for the further questions discussion we will complete, you will come to know more power of REST API. So RE is represent or representational, S is state, and T is transfer. This has a huge meaning here. What is state or stateful or stateless is a very important topic that REST also give you one more capability behind the scene. So not today, in my upcoming classes I'll talk a lot about stateful and stateless. Okay, so but REST is one of the way. So by this example guys, I believe you high level get the idea. Okay, REST is just a way to organize the thing. So at one API and one endpoint based upon the client requirement, what they want to perform, we sense it accordingly, we connect to particular function, and they will do those capabilities. Okay, but client has to while calling this URL or coming to this URL, they have to tell what they want to do. Now here the interesting point over here is, okay, who is the client? Let's say you think we as a human being, we are the client, and how human being head to this URL. So let me do one thing. Let me save this page. Let me run this code again. Okay, I go to my first terminal here and I run my code again. Oh, by chance I forget to update my function name, F1, F2, F3, and this is again F4, obviously a different function. Okay, so my function run, and let's say this website is started, web app is started. Challenge is, and this good thing that we wanted, in this URL, in this IP address, we have only one endpoint. And let's say we as a human being, as a customer or a client, how you normally connect? You normally go to your browser, type this URL, okay, and then type the endpoint. Okay, if you type the endpoint, you hit and the output come up. Okay, this is the only capability guys we have. Again, I'm repeating guys, what I'm trying to tell you here is, as a human being, if you think you are the customer and the client of this app, only thing that you can do as a human being from your client browser, that's because your web server is a client obviously of server, right? Only thing you do is hit to the URL. And you guys, when you hit to the URL, behind this scene, you go to this IP and this endpoint, this route, and you are sending one extra signal method called get. So technically, even though you see the log here, you are sending the get method, and because you're sending the get method, and that is the reason only the route that is associated with get, they will reply to you, read a post. That's what output come up. So what I'm trying to tell you guys here is, we have only a capability to do get request. If I ask you, can you do delete request from here? Okay, if I ask you, can you do update request from here, from this URL or from any browser from here? No, guys. The browser has been designed in such a way, that you can only do get request. You can't do delete request here or put a request here. Okay, that is one of the reason. For example, again, if they go to Facebook, they say, because from this browser, as a human being, you can only do get request. So if you want to create a post or delete the post, maybe you know how to go to this URL. Okay, but you don't know how to send a get and post and delete. How you can delete it and how can you update this? That is the reason Facebook say, between you as a user, okay, as a customer, and between my final URL, I have to take one language in between. So again, let me draw this diagram again. So between the customer means we as a human being, okay, and between my final endpoint post, okay, between you, mean human being, and between this final your final route or functionality, we'd add one extra language. In my case, I am using JavaScript. Maybe some other language might be. Okay, because customer don't know how to do delete and update, because that functionality doesn't provided by the browser the way the browser has been designed by chance. Okay, but if we can provide you one simple beautiful HTML form with buttons, update, delete, all the things. You click in this button, they will sense by JavaScript. And because JavaScript language has a capability to design and customize everything. So if you click in this button, update the post, my JavaScript come to know they want to update. So they will send to this URL, same URL, but behind the scene, the language, also the method or the verb they're gonna take would be update or delete. But language has a capability to go to this URL with some IP address, and by adding some extra header in their request. And obviously, guys, if somebody come here, so for this app, whoever come, for example, for this app, by chance written in Python, by example, or maybe in the Flask framework. Okay, so anybody come, for them, they are the client. So they think some client is coming and they wanted to come to this URL with delete. So what are the functionality of the delete? Whatever the function they write, they go to database, delete your post from the database MySQL or some other databases, and that's all. So delete it. Okay. So point, guys, over here is, okay, that is a reason whenever you heard about the term that I have an API or the URL and one resource but have multiple verb, multiple different capabilities. Okay, so these kind of URL, right, that has multiple capabilities are normally exposed with the REST API console. And they are always be called by some other language. Right, they never be directly called by a customer, because customer don't have a capability to do so many actions here or so many verb here or so methods here. Okay, and that's what, guys, they have been designed. And this is one of the part of the REST API. There's some more functionality REST API will provide to you. One of the very important one is state. In my upcoming class, I will explain you what is state, and then you can come to know what is state transfer. But technically, here you can just focus on RE, is called represent or representational. So how they are representing their facilities just by one single endpoint or the API and the URL. Okay, so this is the one thing to require. And now it is your choice. You want to use JavaScript here, okay, or instead of JavaScript, you want to use mobile app. Mobile app, like from Android or iOS or Kotlin or Android or Swift or C Sharp or C, or maybe hundreds of different languages we have. Objective-C, whatever language you Flutter maybe you want to get there. So if you notice ever, right, you know what, now this kind of bigger websites say, or this bigger apps say, they say now we have a lot of functionality, maybe have gaming functionality also. Okay, so every functionality is managed by a different team, but some of my customers don't like this functionality, or maybe have advertisement facility. So some of the company and some of the team, they are more concerned about accessing the functionality of advertising at Facebook. They don't want any this post and this chatting feature, all things. They want to only retrieve my functionality of advertising. Okay, now because the way I designed my app, and now every app is been separate API, and every single API or one URL has a lot of verb actions. So any third party companies or my client, if they are interested on to connect to only one particular feature, they can create their own app, maybe web app or mobile app or some other language code, and from this language code they can hit to this particular. So you don't have to worry about come to my main page facebook.com okay, or to see all those unwanted extra data. Okay, they will focus on my one of the feature. They come to my one feature okay, and hit here, and depend guys, this feature, what are the verbs they give you, those actions they can perform and retrieve those information and present in this app. So if you search right now in your Play Store, you can see we have a dedicated app for Facebook chat, Facebook post, Facebook advertisement. And if you install those, for example, Facebook advertisement, you can only see the facilities of the Facebook advertisement. None of the Facebook page is gonna come up. But here we can see everything. So technically what I'm trying to tell you guys here, in this kind of bigger website or apps and portal, if they have a lot of features and facility, so if they want their designs to be so much customized and based upon the customer requirement, they want what a customer want to get from me, they can get. So what they do, every functionality they expose with the concept called API. Okay, but in API we have issue, only one thing they can do normally is get, but they want my customer can do anything like CURD operation. Then they expose via some kind of representative way or represent way where they can do further things also. That's what this is one of the use of REST API. It doesn't mean it's completed. We have state also. We'll discuss. Okay, so that's the idea, guys, behind the REST API. Okay, so anybody by chance know some cloud? Again, I'm referring to a cloud called AWS cloud. Okay, so anybody who know about AWS cloud, here we can go and log in. Lots of facility they give to you. Okay, lot of facility they give to you. But I don't want to see all the facility. My intention is to, for example, only use EC2 facility. It's one service in the AWS for launching the instances and the computers and servers. Okay, and there I just want to only want to see how many EC2 instances is running. So AWS cloud give me a different REST API for EC2 service. And there they give me a lot of verb. You want to create, you want to read, you want to do something. So a lot of verbs they give you, and whatever verb I want to use, I can use. So rather than launching here, log in here and use and see everything, I don't want to do this, right? I want to concentrate on one service, or maybe because security reason also. My company say I don't want to show you other thing. I just create one single app or extra app or extra mobile app from where you're going to use, and those app would be the client of AWS cloud, just for example, or GCP cloud or Azure cloud. Okay, and those client will hit to this system and say I want to do delete operation or a read operation. Okay, so it is only possible when this platform or this cloud platform has provided you the REST API. Otherwise it won't possible. Okay, so that is the reason, guys. Nowadays, every good big platform, maybe social media like Twitter, Facebook, or the cloud, right? They will provide for every part, every facility. They provide a REST API. So customer can decide which functionality they want to use, and on the top of this, they can create either they can use their websites, But here I don't want to use the complete all facility. So customer can create their own personal mobile app or their own web app, or web services, and they will go and track, and my human being as a customer go and use those apps, and they will do the thing. So guys, almost any mobile app that you see in your iPhone or Android, they are just working like a JavaScript, right? Okay, so between customer and actual APIs or server, they are the intermediate. So customer hit a button, let's say create post. Okay, they retrieve on the customer behalf, they send the request to this URL, update and delete, and they will do the things. They reply and they will show the customer. Okay, so this is the guys. Because of the REST API, it is possible if Facebook Insta doesn't provide the REST API, creating the mobile app, whatever mobile app you have already created by this company or third-party company won't be possible. Okay, because of the actual final internal backend has created the API that each region that was possible. Okay, this is one thing. Now, so technically now you understand one thing. Okay, finally, let's say we have this backend, BE called backend server. I'm giving the same example as post. Okay, and we as a human being, as a customer, and we always do something in some language or app will understand our requirement. Let's say in my case JavaScript. Okay, and they send over here. Now, interesting thing here is, let's say this particular URL has a function, and the function written in Python. In JavaScript, is a different language. They're written in JavaScript language, obviously. Okay, so this is different language, and this is different language. Now, challenge over here is, let's say I collect the information from human being who collect JavaScript. What human being write? For example, they write Vimal. So JavaScript, I collected the information Vimal, and we know guys already, after collect the information, if you send the information, you have to store the information in some variable. Or let's say JavaScript store the variable in X. And let's say, just for arbitrary example, you can let's think in this way. Let's say JavaScript say I always create a variable by this syntax. So variable name is X, this is a value, and this is syntax I normally use for assignment. Okay, so I understand this syntax. Okay, and this information I send to Python, so they can use this value Vimal from X, and accordingly they do whatever they want to do. But when this information come to Python in this syntax, Python say, I don't know what is this symbol. According to Python is a syntax error. They say, I don't know how what does this mean, and obviously I won't able to retrieve this particular information. Okay, so obviously the challenge, because in this architecture what I'm talking about, this architecture actually is base of microservices also, if you guys know microservices. So in this architecture, one service is connecting other service, means this is my backend service, this is my front end service, or maybe there's a lot of services that we have in backend also, they connect to each other. So we have one more service, we have one more service, we have one more service. So this is written in Python, this is for example, this is written one minute. This is written in maybe whatever. So I click some button here, 1 minute guys, please. Yeah. So this is written in Scala, Java, and Clojure and Groovy. Hundreds of languages you might have, and every language has a different way to store the data, format data, and structure data. It's called data structure. Okay, and it's very common from one language, whatever information they collect, they send here. What output they have, they send here. Everybody is transferring data from here and there, obviously in their way, in their format, in their structure. That's called data structure. Okay, so it's very harder other language to understand, but this architecture we need. I already explained to you why we need. Okay, so that is the reason, guys. In the market, in the web world, or in the web standard, we have created some standard. Standard means we are going to create such a format that every language understand in the world. Almost every language understand in the world. And we'll instruct JavaScript or Python or maybe some background language, for example, Java also, right? We say everyone, if you are transferring any data from your side to other side, maybe they are the client or your server, or both the server, depends. Okay, if you're transferring any information or the data, so structure that you're gonna use of data, let's say structure you're gonna use in this format: x, then colon, then value. X is in double quotes, this might be single quote, whatever format the World Web has decided or standard body has decided. So every language in the world created by you also or somebody else also, they will have to follow this standardized format, whatever the format they have decided. And now because everybody understands this format, so if JavaScript want to send something, they first convert data in this format, then they send. Because Python also understands this format, they understand this format and they convert into their format, whatever format they understand, maybe x equal to Vimal, something like this, then they use it. The Python want to send to Java is here, they again convert to this format, Java understand this format, they again convert into their format, whatever they understand. Okay, so because in this kind of world, especially REST API, we have all the services connected to each other. Okay, we have to follow some standard format for the data structure or how we manage the data. And one of the very globally accepted format in the market is called JSON, JavaScript Object Notation. Guys, it is not at all linked to JavaScript. It's a different language. It's a different notation or way we structure data or way we manage the data. Okay, is JSON. So JSON is a very standard. We have XML or Vimal also, but it is not so much. It have a different use per technology wise. But in this era, for example, this Amazon is created by different company, Facebook different company. Maybe in Amazon we have some way to connect to Facebook. They have some services, but they can talk to each other. But how they transfer the data? Everybody understands JSON, so they transfer the data by JSON format. Okay, so technically in the REST API, if one service is sending data to this guy is replying to this guy, both have to first format and convert the data in a format called JSON, then only they can transfer. Okay, so this is standard in the market. So wherever you see REST API, around 99.9% or maybe 100%, you will see they are transferring, reading and sending a data in a JSON format. After they receive it, they will convert into their format the way they want to use. Okay, that's what the use of JSON over here. Okay, so let me start our practical from here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create some particular endpoint. I'm trying to show you first how to send the data and receive data first in the JSON form. Okay, then we can keep on adding some more new functionality on the top of this. Okay, but before guys you understand JSON, I want to tell you one more small thing about the Python. Okay, so guys, you know in the Python we have multiple data types or data structure. One is a list, you guys know. One is string, tuple, you guys know. But there's one more data type you guys might know, we might have discussed in some of the classes, called dictionary. So very simple topic of Python. I think I might have discussed in some of the classes, but maybe not. So first, let me guys very quickly explain you in 2 minutes what is Python dictionary. Okay, in the very quickly, it is a way to structure the data. It's called data structure that Python has. So very quickly, let me explain dictionary. Why? Because it helps you to convert data into JSON. Okay, so what I mean by this, in a 5 minute, I will explain to you. But what is dictionary? Let me very quickly explain to you. So I'm opening my command line, Python live interpreter. You guys know how to create a create list. So let's say in my list, I'm putting some number here, I'm putting my name here, I'm putting my my remark here. Okay, that's all. So list is created. So if you want to retrieve the name, so you have to remember guys at which particular position your name is located. So I know I have to count it already 0 and 1, and because I know the person, I can go to one person, I can retrieve my name. Or maybe you have a requirement, maybe in your list you have your email ID, right? And if you want to retrieve your email ID, you should remember 1, 2, 3 and third place we have, just go and type the third place and your email will come up. So you write the entire code, okay, and the entire code you write somewhere, go to position number 3rd, retrieve the email ID and send the emails. But by chance, due some reason, by you or by your team, somebody inserted some data in between. There's a one insert function, let's say at the position number 2, they inserted, let's say, your company name, let's say IIC is a community. They inserted, right? Because they want to insert extra field. It's come up here. So it is inserted, is not a big deal. But big deal here is, okay, now if you go to 3rd position and you write already the mailing function, right, by writing 3rd position. Now if you run the 3rd position here, it will show you okay, and here you are running your mailing function. Obviously mail function will fail because if you insert something in between or delete something in between, right, all the guys of further position will change. It means you have to go to all the functionality to added and to update these numbers. So technically what I'm trying to guys explain you here is by changing the list on the tuple, okay, they give you, we have to put the items and the data, but their position, their index number, okay, or their position, they decide. They give you number 0, 1 and 2 by themselves. But in this kind of example, this way of organizing the data or managing the data is called data structure. It's called list here. It is not appropriate. So what I want to do here, I want to store my data. Obviously this is my data, but this time guys, I want to give my own position name. So I want to give this position rather than 0, I want to give this position called ID, this position name called name, this index name called called remark, and this index name, or also guys here known as key name, called email. So this index name we will give also, and this value also we give. Okay, so here guys, in this case, this is called key and it's called value, it's called key value pair. And if you do so, and then the way you organizing the data and way you structuring the data, this data structure in the Python is known as dictionary. In some language, it is known as associative array. If you go to PHP, it is known as associative array. If you go to Perl and some other language, it's called hashes. So language to language, they have the different name, but logic wise, they are same. So how to create the dictionary in the Python? So what I do, let me go here, the same example. So here we can give ID, colon, this is the syntax they have. Here we can give name, colon, and this is the remark, and column. And because this is a dictionary, so in dictionary guys, we have to use, instead of square bracket, we have to use curly bracket. And if you see the type and data structure, you can see it's dictionary. And if you can see here, so now every person has their own values. Own values. So if you want to retrieve, you don't have to remember 10% they come up 100%. We know the actual key name, so we know my key name is name. So I can directly call and say wherever we have the name at any of the person, I want to see the value. So this is one of the benefit. Or anybody added something in between or last, remove. My key name never changed. Obviously, we can write our further functionality based on the key name, and they will retrieve the values. So this is the idea behind the dictionary. Maybe in some of the class I might have talked about, but I feel maybe not. So I just wanted to tell you very quickly the use of the dictionary. Okay, this is one thing. Okay, so this is one thing. Before guys, I convert this discussion to JSON because it's so much related to JSON. In a minute, I will explain you. Okay, so I convert this information into this discussion into JSON. Let's do one small planning here. Okay, let's say my requirement is, okay, I want to store this information. Let's say I want to maintain the database of the student. Okay, and I have multiple students, right? And every student we give the IDs. Let's say one of the ID of my student is 1. Okay, let's say name of the student is, let me use my name, Vimal. And if maybe guys, we have collected a lot of information about the student. Let's go contact number. So Vimal has provided us 2 contact number. So one contact number, they give me about landline. and let's say they say landline contact number is 222. They also give me one more contact number, let's say about their mobile number. Let's say mobile number is 333. So this is one of the information of the student. Okay, we have one more student, for example, ID equals 2. Okay, and their name, let's say the name would be Jack. Again, these guys might provide me one contact number. And they say I have my only mobile number and this is my mobile number. Okay, let's say I have one more information I have collected. the student ID we have given 3, and these guys say I am going to give my name Chris. I also want to give my surname, let's say XYZ. I don't have a contact. So guys, if you guys see here, everybody is providing a different data and different information. So this information we would like to arrange and manage. So we have to create a structure in such a way, this is called data structure, where I can keep all those information, and whenever I want, I can read, I can delete, I can update, anything I can do about this. And I want the structure in such a way, it's called data structure in such a way, or arrangement in such a way that in the future, if Jack say no, I want to add also my surname, they can add. If some more name come up, I can add. Okay, so how you can plan this data structure, how we arrange this data structure. So let's draw ourselves how we can arrange and plan. Okay, so let me guys write my code over here. Okay, so first of all guys, let me create one big variable that's called database. Okay, this would be my variable name that hold all of my values. Okay, now we know we have one information, then second, then third. Every information may be different values and different things. Okay, but this is the entirely one, this is entirely 2, this is entirely 3. So I can say I have a list of students, and because we have list, so I can create list. Okay, but in my first list, okay, everybody has a different things to tell. This guy will tell the IDs, the name or ID we created, they tell the name, and they can say I have 2 contact number. Okay, or maybe somebody has surname also. So I can go for position, right? Like the way list is. So instead of list, I can say do one thing. I'm storing all the value in some variable or my own key name. So technically, this entire information of this first of my student, okay, in my list, but this information I will store in a dictionary. Okay, so inside the list, I'm going to create one dictionary. So this dictionary, let me put here for first student. I'm going to create one more dictionary. Okay, it is for second student. Second student. And guys, this is very important guys for Json, and Json is very important for REST API. And third, I will create for third student. Okay, and because it means what is list? List is a list of not the items. List is a list of dictionary. So this first item, then we put comma obviously. The second item we put comma obviously. And third one, the way you normally create the list. But here, my list contain 3 items, 1 and 2 and 3, and all the 3 item is the item that contain lots of other values also, like a dictionary. And here in this first list, I'm going to arrange that my first value is ID and their value is 1, comma. The way I created the, what is curly braces here? Curly braces is a dictionary. I want to add name also. And here let's say name is Vimal. And guys, in the Python, if you want to create a dictionary, obviously your value always go in a string. Okay, but your key name is always a string and put in the double quotes. Okay. Same thing, let's say my other student also have, they want to give their ID, or we have created somehow ID. They also given their name. Let's say the name of this guy is Chris. And this time this guy might have given their surname. And here let's say the surname will be XY. Okay. But in the first case, Vimal, this guy has given a contact number also. And by chance, here they don't give me one single contact, they give me two contacts. So again, my key is contact, but not only one contact I have, right? Because I have multiple contact, or because you have multiple things, obviously it become list again. So list of contact they are going to do. Okay, but in the contact they also tell you okay, two things, my contact under landline and this one. So I have to maintain this thing. This contact is for landline, this contact for mobile number. Okay, so guys, normally when you create a list you store same thing, okay, like name, ID, email. But here I have to maintain a group of information. So again, it will be one more dictionary and one more dictionary. In this dictionary, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add one variable, let's say name, and here I'm giving the value. So we are putting something about the landline, okay, and here we are putting the let's say number, let's say 111. Obviously this will be key. So first of my contact has the contact number 111, but this contact is for landline. So this one block is the one of the contact. Same thing, I have one more block of the contact, and this again is to update. This is, let's say this is a mobile number, and here my mobile number with them. So technically, by combining list and dictionary, we can arrange or create any kind of data structure or structure to arrange any kind of data. The first student gave me a very different detail. Second student say I don't have a contact. Okay, third say I have some other things. Let me remove third. I don't want to create more. Okay, something like this. Okay, so with the help of dictionary, some kind of random information we can put. But understand, guys, this thing, same concept we have in other languages also. I told you in the Perl it is on hashes. Okay, so only difference is okay, the syntax is different. Or logic same. Maybe in some language instead of colon we might use this one. I think in PHP or some language we use this symbol instead of colon. But in the Python we use this. So let's say if Python want to send this information to Perl, or Perl want to send this into JavaScript, I told you why, because multiple languages in our web app nowadays will connect to each other. Okay, if somebody want to send this information to other program, how they send? Because Python say I support this way, I arrange my data in this way. Okay, but JavaScript say no, I don't understand this syntax. So technically what I'm talking about, this information, okay, before Python send to JavaScript, other language, you have to first convert this information into JSON. Okay, that's what we need. Good news is by chance, and luckily, JSON is a different language, Python is a different language. Python actually by chance language, JSON is a format way to put the data. But by chance, syntax of Python and JSON is so much close. Okay, because if you ever know JSON actually, their syntax again same, curly braces and key and value, then curly braces and hashes and comma. So their syntax is almost same. The only difference is by chance in Python and in JSON, normally JSON guys start with curly braces. We start with curly braces and end with curly braces. So if you try to check, does this is the right format? JSON, by chance no. But again, it's not important, guys. Important thing is every language know how to convert and and again encode or decode in JSON format. Okay, everybody language has their own library and module for this, and that's what I'm going to show you here. So what I'm going to do here, okay, let's say this is the information I have right now. I hard coded here, but this information maybe I have in my database, and maybe in MySQL or SQLite we know. Or nowadays if you have this kind of format where everybody has a very different information to store, so for those kind of requirement, we have a very important database in the market called MongoDB. They're so great to arrange this kind of database data in the database. Okay, but let's say I updated this information in over here to show you this particular demo. So let's say this is the data we have and I am the Python, and the Python you have created one endpoint. Let's select export, And I want, if anybody come to me with get request, means they want to read, we will run this function. And what this function will do, they will return this value. So simple. How can we return? Pretty straightforward. We can run db. Nothing very complex, right? So anybody come to this for the get, we will provide entire value of this. Maybe right now I'm getting from hard coded here, but maybe I can write a function. They will go to my database, retrieve the value and provide to my customer. So nothing special here. Okay, but what is the challenge in this point? So let me start my program, and anybody, I can go to my browser because this is the get request. I can do get request from here also. Hit here. So entire information will come up. By chance, it is not working here. One of the reason, guys, here is because by chance Flask doesn't support these written types. Okay, there's a different point, but let's say it worked. Let's say it come up. Okay, but technically, okay, technically, what I'm talking about, one minute. Even though, let me try from command line also. Second line, and if anybody come here, by default curl will do a get request. Again, same error come up, but let's say the same output come up. Okay, so my main point, guys, here is, let's say maybe this give you the output, okay, to the client, and which format? This format. And what is this format? By chance, this is dictionary. This format is dictionary. Okay, not actually dictionary. If you see the outer border is square bracket is a list, or list inside dictionary, some kind of format they are. Okay, very quickly, just want to just test here to print to check what is this. Just I'm doing a normal print to show you. Okay, so if I run again, okay, say is normal output come up is a dictionary inside, sorry, list inside dictionary, some format they have. But my main point, guys, just want to emphasize here in the last, we have this endpoint. Anybody who come here for get or a read, they reply. Okay, they reply in a format that only Python understand, because this is a Python personal list or dictionary. But who will come to this guy? Client. But here, who is the client? Client is, we know, the human being. Client would be a JavaScript or maybe other languages. But JavaScript doesn't support list and dictionary of the Python type or Python syntax. Okay, and that is the reason I am asking here, whenever anybody go to this URL, whatever output Python want to provide, okay, that output should be in a format of JSON. So my JavaScript understand, and maybe my browser will also understand. Okay, that's what we wanted here. Okay, so our plan is what to do. Our plan is to convert this data before we respond to the client here, maybe JavaScript, for example, in a JSON format. And for this, guys, in the Flask, because it's a very common thing, in the Flask, they have a function called Jsonify. So this function, guys, come in the Flask. And we'll do one small thing here, a very small thing. We have to just convert this value, okay, whatever they are, into a format of JSON. So we have to use Jsonify function. That's the only thing we have to do here. They convert this value into the JSON format. And because they convert the JSON format, so my client who gonna read here, this just JavaScript, they understand this particular format. Okay, that's what we have to do. Okay, so this is the, guys, only thing you have to do is so simple, because this is a framework. That's what I have told you guys. What is the use of framework? Frameworks will give you everything as a plug and play. Just plug it and use it. But you should know why we are doing this, and that's what, guys, I have given the entire discussion of today's class in very detail. Okay, now see, guys, what the output come up. I go to my command line. If I run this, Now guys, this time you can see there's no issue come up and the output come up because when you reply, or maybe I can go to my browser also, refresh, no output come up. But when you go to this URL, by answering you have a get request. When you get request, this function run. Jasonify first convert this data into JSON format, and this is actually a JSON format. Okay, and they provide to the client. By the time I'm the browser, but finally JavaScript or other language gonna call this form, this data go there because they understand this format or because they understand this format, so they know if they are looking for contact number of first customer, they will search for ID equals to 1, then contact number 1, and they retrieve it. So because everybody understands JSON, so they know JSON functionality, how to retrieve the value and how to update the value, right? All the things they will do here. But to confirm, does this is the right JSON format or not? Okay, so I feel like it is not right format. So how to confirm this is look like JSON, but it is a actual JSON or not? So how can I check? So there are a lot of tool available in the market. Okay, so if I search for JSON formatter, a lot of tool available in the market also. If I search this one, and what I'm doing guys here, I'm putting my data, okay, whatever I got as answer, and try to check does is actual valid JSON. So the option called validate. Okay, and they say yes, it is valid. Okay, and why this is valid, I don't feel like it is valid, but they say it is a valid format. Okay, this if say they valid, they should be valid, but but technically it is a rule in the JSON. Okay, all the data by this website saying, but all the data should be enclosed in angle bracket. It's the only thing you have to add extra. This is the only thing you have to add here as a JSON format. So in the JSON, it is a root structure. So this is a root, means everything should be enclosed in this angle bracket. Okay, now if I try to validate, now this time they go there, right? I think because I have put one extra square bracket here. So 1 minute. So because I already has curly braces, no guys, we don't require this one because if you do so, so I won't able to categorize these are two different values. So technically we don't require. I'm actually thinking other example. Technically this is a pure JSON. So that's what they are okay. We have done properly correct. Okay, even they are not giving again answer. 1 minute. So this is up to date. Where is it? 1 minute. Format, yeah. They're right. So whatever is coming in right, I thought I would just had different example in my mind. So everything good. So JSON guys converted your value in the format whatever we need. Okay, that's a good thing about JSON file. Now here I just hardcode this data, but in my next class guys I will show you how to do further curd operation over here. Right now the operation that I am doing, it only get. Get means read. Okay, how to do further operation in the same data we are going to do in our class. But only thing is you to know about today's class is JSONify and how to do it. One more tool guys I want to introduce today because this tool we're gonna use a lot, because I told you okay, if you want to do further operation here, for example right now I have done read here, we can do it. But if I'd ask you to delete this contact, means you have to do some delete and update operation. For update this name, update operation. So we can't do put and post from the browser. Either I can create my own client here. Here it's called JavaScript. We will discuss in the future classes. By the meantime, I don't know how to write JavaScript and get the data and send a post and put request. Okay, so just for testing what we are doing. So we have a very fantastic tool, very famous tool, right? Available in the market. So anybody who write REST API code, this is a very famous tool in the market. Everybody use whatever language they use. Okay, so for testing wise, what I'm going to do here, so that this tool will help me to send the get request and post request and put request and test all of REST API that all the method is working or not. So the tool called Postman, very famous tool, very powerful tool, have a lot of capabilities. We're going to use a lot. Okay, so it's a tool You can get a free version. So if you search for Postman download, you will get this link. Okay, so there's a good tool. We are going to use this tool for testing our API. Okay, so click on this tool. Okay, and here you can download the Postman over here for all the languages. Here I have Windows, they directed, so I have only downloaded. After download, double click, install it. So simple, nothing very specific. So there's a tool we're going to use for testing the API. Okay, I already installed this tool. So what I'm going to do, I'm searching for Postman. I already have this particular tool. I click, and this tool actually look something like this. Get request you can test very easily from your browser. Today we might not require, but I suggest before the next class just have this tool ready. So further operation that we do, you will be you know how to test this. Okay, this is the pages will come up. Okay, and what we are going to do here, they give me it like not a browser, but it look like something this. Here they give you this option to type your URL, and I know by chance my URL. Okay, so I type my URL over here. Okay, and you guys, now here you see in the browser you can do get only by default and by chance, but here we have all the verb. These are the different actions and verb of HTTP. By chance, get, post, put, and delete. I explained to you, but maybe some of the verbs we will see as we require in the future. But here we can select which verb we want to. So I'm going to send to this URL. Technically endpoint is one, but but method is different, and it is means we have one resource, multiple method. Technically it means this endpoint is giving me a REST API. And if I click here, they send me request and they reply me the output. So this is the output, guys, they provide us. So they properly formatted. It's called pretty output. They show me the row output. They show me the preview, whatever they send behind the scene. Okay, and here we can click on header, and they are very clear. This URL has sent me the output. This time, guys, the content type is JSON. So guys, yesterday I talked about two content type. One is content text HTML. One is some XWW URL encoded. So that are purely for the websites. You know, where we have a form. When you use the form, we send the data, we can get and post. Okay, so different content type. But normally in the REST API, you always see the content type something like this. Especially if your output is JSON, so they show you content type application JSON. Maybe somewhere you might require. Okay, this is the one thing. But right now, if I try to post this thing with a post, again URL is same, this one same. So if I hit enter, okay, so they will now hit to this particular URL with the post method, and they will run this function and they reply this output. Let's see it work or not, or we do something else. Hit here. Okay, and what they reply me? They reply me create a post. See here, they reply me with this output. There is no output of pretty row because there is no JSON output we have sent, but obviously we have to send with output. So this is, guys, now we can test, right? My further function is working. I want to hit this function. I do send put request. So I go to my tool and say I want to send put request. Send. So I'll create a post output and gonna come up. So I know this is a tool for testing, but my other tool like mobile app and JavaScript, we can also create their way and put the header. Okay. So again, content name is this one because I haven't set my JSON. Only text is coming, so they put text HTML because text we are sending. Again, let me test one more. Delete. If I hit enter, so delete a post. So technically, one single resource, all the method and all the verb is working great. Now it is just a game what you write here and what you put inside the function. Okay, but technically I understand one thing, it's not so simple. Okay, if you if you want to do some post, you have to send some data from the client, and data will be in JSON format. So how to send the data from here? that was a big discussion that we are going to in the next class. But I think guys, high level you get the idea in one resource, one endpoint, how to create multiple methods and multiple verbs you can attach. Okay, so a lot more discussion we have in REST API, especially in the terms of state or stateful, we will do in the next class. So I suggest guys, till now we just go and practice this and see you in the next class. So any questions or any queries if you have. Okay, so I'm enabling your chat box. Any questions, any query if you have, you guys can ask. But very important topic guys, in today's almost all the app, any of the platform you go, is purely based on REST API. Okay, so any question guys, any query if you have, you can ask. So very important topic, suspect is still here. So in the next class, whatever the new capabilities I am going to add, you will be so much familiar. And guys, the way I also draw the structure of storing our data, it's called dictionary, something very simple concept, but just create something create something like this and try to put your data, so you become comfortable with dictionary. Plus you will also because we are going to use this format a lot in the upcoming classes. Okay, because JSON format is also like a same. Yes, you can think URL and API are the same. Okay, but technically if I go in www.google.com, it's a URL. Okay, but this URL doesn't as such doing something for you. But if I'm searching there, they tell me, take me in the different page altogether. That page is actually doing something for you. That is called some things they're doing for you, like searching. So that page has a URL, but they also have API because they are doing some application for you. Okay, so if some URL or some endpoint is doing something for you, then I can use the word called API. Otherwise, any URL where they only show you the information, like in our website, I don't use the word API. We always use the word called URL. There's a difference. Okay, but guys, don't worry. If we have some more example and the API, REST API come up, you will become more comfortable in the next example. Yes, later we will talk about login part also, how we add the login. So that is not so much critical, very simple to do. Well, but yeah, we'll see in the future class. Obviously, guys, Postman guys doesn't know what data to do. When I click on the Postman, they go to that URL, right? And from there they fetch the thing. Obviously, Postman, whatever data I show you in the Postman, obviously Postman don't have, right? They go to that website or that URL or API that I created in Python. They go there and retrieve from there and provide to you. Okay, Postman will retrieve from there only. To connect backend and front end, yes, mostly Unsick they use REST API. But what is the difference of backend is different. Here I'm talking about data layer, my databases. So one function connect to other function, like here JavaScript and Python. So JavaScript is front end, Python is back end. In that context, yes, answer is they use REST API. So why JSON over Vimal? Sorry, XML. There's a lot of difference discussion we can do here, but you can think it's a very older tech language. They are not properly can arrange your data. If you ask you whatever I draw right now, okay, same data you can try to arrange in XML language. Answer is you can do. We can also use, but it will become so complex to arrange those data in XML. So point is we have to come up with such a markup language, okay, who give me a flexibility to arrange our data very cleanly, very properly, very customizable way. If you try to draw this same example I did, this is again a very simple example, okay, in the XML, if you know XML by chance, we can do it. I'm not denying, but but we write it becomes so complex. Okay, that's the idea. So Java JSON make it so simple to arrange or to organize. Okay, so that's all guys for